Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I did the Trailblazer by Bagstock. I used all vinyl for the black sections, and then I've used a quilting cotton for the accent panels, and all of my linings have been done in waterproof canvas, which I obviously didn't squish out before I did this video. I didn't use any bag foam because the vinyl helps it to stand up by itself, and I didn't want to make it overly heavy. But yeah, I really enjoyed making this bag, so if you'd like to see how I make it, stay tuned. Alright guys, so today I'm starting with the straps, there's two. And I'm doing my classic half fabric, half vinyl because I felt like it and I think they're going to look really nice. Which you've already seen. I keep forgetting there's an intro and you've seen all this, but anyway. So I haven't done anything. I have prepped and ironed the fabric part of the straps because you don't need to watch me iron. But I'm just going to rule the line along here. Then I'm going to grab some double-sided tape and I'm just going to stick that along the center line. So you don't have to be perfectly centered, but you want to be pretty close because you want the sticky tape on both sides so it'll hold it down. But as you can see, I did that pretty fast because I'm not trying to be perfectly centered, just close enough. So my double-sided tape is from the Reject Shop in Australia, which is like a variety store. You can also get it from lots of places. Woolworths and Coles sell like small rolls of it, like 10-meter rolls. You can get it from Spotlight and probably Lincraft, although I don't go into Lincraft often. Their fabrics don't really inspire me, which is unfortunate. Alright, so now I'm just going to, and you can see it through the hole here, I'm just going to fold over both sides to that center line. So I've been practicing this whole do it both at the same time thing, and I think I'm slowly getting better at it. Otherwise, if you don't feel confident in doing this, just go along and do one side and then flip it over and come back and do the other. I'm just trying to get faster at this because I do most of my straps this way. So I either fold it in half and stick like a skinnier vinyl strap along the top of it, or in this case, I am putting the fabric. And it just depends on the bag. So I wanted the fabric accent on this. I think it's going to look really nice. The horse bag I did as a trial, I actually just put a piece of brown over the main colored vinyl, because that's what suited that particular pattern best. And I actually used a panel to make that, so a quilting panel instead of just fabric. So there wasn't really anything that was the length that I needed for the straps. Alright, so I'm gonna stick a one and then sew one and then come back and do the other one. So this was a 1.5 inch wide piece, and then I've just folded both the sides into the center. Somebody pointed out to me that I should get a 20mm bias tape maker, so I do plan on doing that when I can find one. Just gonna even up that end. There we go. Okay, so and one end of them I also folded the raw edges under so that when I sit it here it's gonna look beautiful. Now I've got my stitch on 3 3/4. So I'm just gonna stitch. I actually started in the middle that time, back stitch, and then went forward to lock all my stitches in place. And now I'm just going to line up, and you can't see because the thing's in the way, but I'm just going to line up the fabric directly in the center of the vinyl and stitch it down. Oh no. Sorry, I'm choking on chocolate. That's what I get for eating in a video. Oh, Goodness gracious me. Okay. So I'm just putting it along the center, and then I'm stitching about 1/8 of an inch from the edge of the fabric. If you try and do it too close to the edge, you're more likely to run off. So 1/8 of an inch is nice and close without being insanely close. Okay, so I'm getting towards the end now, and I've got this excess tail. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave about 1/2 an inch past the end of the vinyl so that I can tuck it under. So just fold it under, which you can't see me do. Stitch to the end, needle down, and then lift your foot up and pivot. And then go back down the other side. So the second side is always faster because it's already been put in place. Get to the end, couple of back stitches. Now with back stitches, you don't need like 12, you need about 3. So there you go, that is one strap. Beautifully done. So I'm gonna pop that aside and do the other one. Now the reason I'm doing straps first is because I've just wound a new bobbin for this, actually wound 2 new bobbins. And I don't want to have joins on my straps if I can, you know, if I can manage it. So by doing them first, I know I've got a full bobbin, so I will get through all of it without having to change over. All right, so we're just gonna quickly sticker down this one as well. Now, if you're finding that your vinyl doesn't stick properly when you're pushing it down, I know I show this in a lot of my videos, but I did have, and I just dropped it on the floor because I'm special like that. This is like a scraper. So this end here's got like some felt on it, and then this end's plastic. I got it from Bunnings. It's like a couple of dollars. I think it's like a sticker scraper to put stickers on things. But either way, I use this. Oh, it's not my day today. Everything keeps falling off. And then I just kind of score it down like that. And that just helps it stick better to the sticky tape if you're finding it's lifting a lot. I also always use that on the glitter vinyl because it is quite stiff. And I find it gives a nice crease and holds everything in place for me. But this one's quite soft and supple, so it stays quite nicely. I should look into new ways of doing straps. Not that I dislike the current ways I'm doing, but you know, there might be something new and exciting out there. I've also got a whole bunch of edge coat colours coming. So when they arrive, I'll start doing straps where I can paint like the sides of them because I think that's going to look really fun. I got like 5 different colours. Alright, so second piece of this. Now I didn't cut this down. This is actually just the full width of the fabric because I figure I'd cut it at the end. So I'm going to start with the end that I folded under and have my join facing up. That's very important because you want to hide the join. I was sewing late the other night and I actually sewed it to the wrong side, so that was not ideal. Alright, so I'm going to start in the center and do a couple of back stitches and then forward over them, and that's locked everything in place. And then I'm just going to center it and stitch down. Oh, and my thread just broke. That's a new one. That's never happened to me before. It's exactly what we were aiming not to happen too. Slightly annoying. That could have just been a weak spot in the thread. Because it sewed all the rest of it. I don't know. That's alright. I'll make sure that this end is where the strap adjuster slide thing goes. so you won't see that. Now, before I go any further, I'm actually just going to chop this off so that it doesn't get tangled on the way back. Because there's nothing worse than having to sit there and untangle it. Alright, so I'm just centering it. I'm probably doing, I don't know, maybe 4 inches or 20 centimeters, or not, probably not even 10 centimeters a time. 20, that's 8 inches. I'm just doing like 2 hands worth, centering it, pushing it, and then stopping and going again. If you don't like this method, you can stick another piece of double-sided tape down the center and then stick it on, or you can use your Wonder clips and pin it all together and then just pull them off as you go. Depending on your skill level and how long you've been sewing, all of those are great options. You don't have to do it freehand like I do. I've just made a lot of straps. I used to pin them all with like the clips about 1/2 inch apart. I used to do the whole strap until I got confident enough to not have to. So don't feel bad if you have to use clips. Everyone starts somewhere. And back stitch. Fantastic. So that's the strap parts sewn. Now I'm just going to grab, so you're going to need 4 of those, which I apparently only grabbed 2, and 2 strap sides, to which I only grabbed 1. Okay. Oh no, there's the other one there. Alright. I think that chocolate is still stuck in my throat. This is not fun. Alright. So the first thing I'm going to do is put the slide strap adjuster on like this. Now, because I don't need them to be perfectly 100% symmetrical on the same strap, I'm just going to hold it and punch a hole. Then I'm going to take some double capped rivets. Now, I don't actually keep them in a bag at my house. I have just started doing it for the videos because it's easier to grab and use them like this. So I have them in like a fun little box. Alright, so I'm just going to put the double cap rivets on and then grab my press and squish it down. And so then I'm going to slide a clip on and then make it come back on itself like this, and then go up one side of the strap adjuster, down the other side like that, and then grab the other one and go in so that the black's going to fold on itself like this. So you want the black to touch each other. Then again, I'm just going to punch a hole there. I always like to do it from this side to make sure I'm getting it all. And I have to wiggle mine around because it is a little bit blunt. I know I keep saying I'm going to get another one, but it's like an hour's drive. So I'll do it one day, promise. Okay. Put the other cap on and then squish it down. Now, because I haven't grabbed all the other hardware, I will do the other strap off screen, but you get the idea. So you just do 2 of those and then pop them aside. So now we are going on to the D-ring pieces. So you should have 5 of these. And then what you're going to do is take a pen and draw a line down the center. Now, I have just interfaced the fabric. You could have also done vinyl, but I wanted to really have as much of the accent fabric as possible. So that's why I've done that this way. So I'm just rolling a line down the center, like we do with all straps. And then I'm going to stick them together. So I'm just going to kind of chain stick them, butt them up against each other, make like a big long chain of them. I think it's just ultimately quicker to then just come along and snip in between. Like so. And then you can just come back and snip the tape between them all, like so. Okay. So peel the backing off your tape. Fold each side into the center. Now you could also have ironed these, because it is just fabric. You could just iron it to the center. That would also work. But not to worry. And then I'm going to do a stitch 1/8 of an inch from the center down all of these. A, I think it looks pretty, and B, it's like an extra enforcer of the strap. So because this isn't vinyl, you can see I've just folded and stuck them all at the same time. Oops. Okay, so while I'm still on my nice long stitch, we're gonna do, whoop. I'm stitching from the top because I can see where the center joins, but you can stitch from the bottom, that's also totally fine. You can notice I'm chain stitching them, so I'm not separating them yet, because it doesn't really matter. Okay, so now that's all of those stitched together. So now you can just come along and snip them and separate them. I find that quicker than having to do one at a time and then snip them out. So then I'm going to take 3 of my D-rings, not 5, but 3, and I'm going to put the D-rings, whoops, very clumsy today, I don't know what's going on. I'm going to then stitch 1/8 of an inch from the edge, across the top and back down on just 3 of them. This is important because the other 2 get sewn on a different way. So that's 1. I'm also back stitching because I want to lock this stitch in. Chop off those tails so they don't get in my way. You can actually chop the other one off now if you want to. Back stitch, and then 1 more. So these 3 connectors are for the backpack option. The other 2 are going to go on our side pieces, and they are for the shoulder strap option. So these ones will actually get stitched with no raw edges showing. So you'll stitch them like this onto the bag. So I actually, to make sure that I don't do them wrong, I do that now so that I can see the difference and then I can grab the right one. Because I like to get my small bits kind of sorted at the start. Okay, so now I'm going to set all of those aside. I'm all about straps straight up, apparently. And then we're going to grab our hand straps and a ruler, and then rule a line down the center. Now you can make these straps thicker. The straps come with a finished 1-inch strap, but it would also look nice as a 1 1/4 inch strap as well, just to have that a little bit chunkier. but that's your personal preference. I'm sticking with the pattern as my customer loves the pattern exactly how it is. So I'm making it exactly how it is. Which is a change for me, I know. Usually I alter something. Alright, so again, you could have ironed this in half if you wanted to. Obviously I didn't. My arm's not even on at the moment. So I'm going to fold it into the center line. You know what? This actually might need to be ironed. I haven't pressed it long enough, and my interfacing is separating from the fabric because of the way I'm bending it. So that's okay. Just means I didn't hold the iron on it long enough to properly fuse it. And that's mainly due to the fact that I didn't use my heat press today because it's covered in all the other orders I need to do. But that's okay. So this one's stuck much nicer. I obviously spent more time on this half. So we're going to fold it into the center, and then we're going to fold it over again. And I'm going to start, I actually don't need to do the end, so I'm going to start at the fold side. And I'm going to back stitch just so that they don't come undone on me. And then I'm going to stitch 1/8 along that edge, making sure that the strap is beautifully in half. Like that. And then spin it round and go down the other side. Now, I could have also done this handle with a half vinyl, half fabric. Or I could have done all vinyl. Or I could have done, you know, a whole bunch of different ways, really. Okay. So I'm just going to quickly iron this once I've double folded it like this, just to really set that in. I'm not holding it too long. Just enough to really get that crease set in there. And then I flipped it over and I'm doing the other side as well. That's better. Right. So now we start at the opened end again. I'm going to chop that off so it doesn't hit the camera. And then we're going to twist around, jump across to the other side and do 1/8 of an inch down that side as well. Excellent. So that is now all the strapping parts of this bag done. Alright, I should have better sorted these and joined them all together. So we need these pieces, and then we need this piece and the big piece. Okay. So now these are actually going to be attached to the vinyl. So it goes vinyl, this piece, vinyl, and then the pocket on top. So we want to attach our handles to this piece here, which is the vinyl top. So I'm going to, first of all, I'm going to fold it in half and find the center, and then just clip it with a pair of scissors. I don't use snips because I once cut my hand and it really hurt and took a really long time to heal. So I have learnt my lesson and I will not do that again. So at the middle joint, we're going to put one of our pre-sewn, what are they called? Strap connectors. Now I'm going to go back over the lines that I originally sewed. Like that. So now it just looks like a bolder line, but that is completely now sewed onto there, so it's not going to fall off. Then from the center of there, we take our strap. Now I always put the join side to the inside, like so, and we want to go 2 inches out from there. Clip that down, and then we make sure that the strap is not twisted at all, and then bring it down and do the same on the other side. So it's pulling the strap in a little bit at the moment, but don't worry about that. So then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to tack that in place. So this is now our back piece. It's probably quicker to sew all the way along than cut it off and go the other side. So I'm just going to do that. Otherwise you could just tack the 2 separately. So that is now a beautiful back piece. Or part of it anyway. I then want to take my other one of those, which will be my front. I'm going to do the same thing. Well, almost the same thing. So I'm going to fold it in half, find the center, clip it so I can see it, making sure I do not cut myself. And then I'm going to take my strap and then make sure that the join is to the inside like this. And then put 2 clips on it. I know it's not a very big strap, but 2 clips will stop it being able to twist around and end up crooked, because that's something else we do not want. Alrighty, so there's the center. 2 inches over to there. Clip it. And then I'm just going to stitch that one down as well. And again, you don't have to stitch the whole way along. You can cut it and then go and do the second one. I just find that ultimately quicker. I probably waste the same amount of thread, but it takes less time. Okay. Alright, so we're moving on to the front slip pocket. So I've got my outside fabric and a piece of the waterproof lining. Now there are a lot of pieces to this pattern, but they all kind of match, so it makes it a bit easier. So I'm just gonna top stitch, or not top stitch, stitch along the top, like so. And then I'm gonna flip that over. I'm gonna crease that with my fingers and then pull it over and top stitch along there again. So the top stitch is going to be 1/8 of an inch from the top. And I'm going to go back up to 3 3/4 to make it decoratively looking. Okay. So that is now that piece. And then I'm going to grab all my pattern pieces. So all my pattern pieces I have laminated and stuck together because on the pattern piece that we're looking for, it has, here it is, where to put the magnets onto this piece. So I'm just going to grab a ruler and make a little mark where it needs to be. So there. And then I'm going to do the same on the other side. So there. You should probably mark that before you start. But that's okay. And then I'm using my mini magnets. I'm not using the big ones. I'm using the little ones because the flap's not huge. So I feel the big ones are possibly... they're overkill because I've got the little ones. If I didn't have the little ones, like the little mini magnets, I would just use the big ones. So, I mean, use what you've got. You could also use press studs, like cam snaps. You could use the metal ones or the plastic ones, actually. So for this, I'm just going to mark the holes. with the gasket. So I'm using the gasket to mark the holes so that they are the right size. And then I'm going to grab my craft knife and stab the holes through. And then before I put the magnets in, I'm going to put a little bit of fray stopper on here. Because this part is made of fabric, I do not want it to fray. So I'm going to flip it over. Now, if you've never used fray stopper, it's exceedingly runny. So you don't even squeeze the bottle. You just dab it on. And it comes flowing out quite fast. So please be warned. Now I'm just going to stab both my magnets through. Like that. And then flip it over. Oh, I missed that one. I didn't do as stabby as I thought I did. All right. There we go. And then I'm going to take my gasket and slip that over the top and then bend the pieces out. Now, some people bend them in. I bend them in when it's my bag tag, but these ones I bend out. And so then that is that piece almost done. We just need to attach it to one of the outer pieces. Now I've done these in vinyl, but you could have just used a contrasting fabric color. So that's how it should sit, with like this little bit of excess at the top. Now, if you want to, which is what I'm going to do, I'm just going to baste it in place. And then that way it's just one piece and I don't have to worry about it. So I'm going to stick a few little clips in because the waterproof canvas might try and slip away from me. And we don't want that. And then I'm just going to leave it on whatever length it is and just stitch about 1/8 of an inch from the edge. Again, this is just joining it and closing everything and creating it as one piece. But make sure you put your magnets in before you do this, or you've got to unpick it to get your magnet gasket parts in. And even though it's just basting, I do still backstitch because I don't want it to come off. It defeats the purpose. So there we go. There's that piece. Now I'm going to pop that aside as well. And I'm going to move on to the next piece, which is the back slip pocket. So I'm just doing all the slip pockets because I've got so many pieces lying around, basically. Now, for the slip pocket, I actually just cut 4 of the interior slip pocket pattern pieces. I will have to trim these down because they're probably a little bit big, but I just found it easier because it does have the instructions to cut another piece, but I already had the rectangles in front of me, so that's what I chose to do. You could also just use one, have like a really small slip pocket, but I don't want to do that either. So what I will do first is stitch these together. Like so. Now it's one piece. This is also a really good way to do it if you do have directional fabric, because then all the fabric will be in the right direction. And then 1/2 inch from that sew line and 3/4 of an inch in, I'm just going to mark it. So there you go, I did alter the pattern. This pocket is different to the one that it comes with. Alright, so that is my pocket size. So I've just drawn it on there with pen because it's on the back. And then I'm just going to make sure that the excess flap I didn't draw on is in the up position. And I'm going to position the pocket where I want it. I'm not worrying about how much too big it is because I can deal with that later. And I'm going to go down to a 2.5 stitch length and then stitch around this. Making sure that the needle is down when I pivot and change directions. And then back stitch again. So then trim off your tails. Put the excess in the bin. And then I'm just going to bend this down on the edge of my table is the easiest way to do it. Pinch it and then clip it in the center. And then stick my scissors in and cut towards the edge. And when I get about 1/2 inch from the edge, I'm going to triangle out the corners. And I'll show you what that means. You can do them a little bit longer if you want to, but I obviously don't. But so now I've got these little triangles in the corner. So now grab your pocket piece and push it through the hole so that your pocket is now on the outside. Or the other side. It's technically the inside, but whatever. And then I'm just going to finger press all of these edges so that they're nice and crisp, I suppose is the right word. So then I've just got my zipper roll next to me today because I always forget to cut at least one zip. So I thought this might be easier for me. So I'm just going to cut a zip that is the same length as the fabric. And I'm going to cut another one because I'm about to do the inside pocket and it's the same size. So that will be the next thing I'm doing. And then I just want to put a zipper pull onto here. So I'm going to use my zipper jig, which is off camera because of the angle that I'm doing. But if you watch any of my other videos, I tend to show you what it looks like. So put that in. And then I'm just going to lay the pocket over the zip, making sure that it's coming to the edge because we want to be able to stitch it into the seam. A couple of back stitches, down, pivot, and off we go. So if you're seeing too much of your lining, just pull it from the underneath and that will help hide it. And I'm going to stop with the needle in the down position and then zip this open so that the zipper part is out of my way. Down and pivot. Down and pivot. Needle in the down position and zip it back up so it's out of the way. Okay, I've trimmed off all my tails. So now I'm just going to start at the side and stitch it down. And then when I get to where I think the pocket needs to end, I'm just going to stop there. So I want to stop it about here and then pull this up out of the way and stitch across. So obviously the way I've done it is a little bit wasteful. But at least I remembered to cut it because the first bag I did, I forgot to cut the extra pocket. And then I'm just going to trim off this excess. And so now the outer one has a zipper pocket and I've stitched all the way around because we're not turning anything through this hole. So now we've just got a nice pocket there. So then we're going to take our lining piece because this is also a slip pocket. So it's got a zipper on the front of the slip pocket. So now what I want to do is stitch this together along the top. So I'm still in a nice joining stitch, which for me is 2.5. And I'm just going to stitch along the top. And then back stitch. And then I'm going to also stitch the bottom. Oh, am I out of bobbin thread? I think I might have just run out of bobbin thread. I did. That was good timing. Weirdly good timing, actually. Okay. Put my bobbin in. And go again. Alright, so I'm going to stitch along the bottom. Make sure that I back stitch at the end. And then I'm just going to turn it out the side. have this beautiful pocket here. So now I want to top stitch along the top with a decorative 3 3/4 length. Like so. And then we're going to grab our other back piece and line that up. And grab your ruler, make sure that it's even. And then pin it in place along the side. Because I don't want it to shift. And then I'm going to come and do it on the other side as well. So that's where it needs to sit. Pin that down as well. And then we're going to stitch down the side, across the bottom, and up the other side. So the side is just at 1/8 to be a joining stitch, but I will still back stitch for it. And then the bottom is a joining stitch, which is why I'm still using the 2.5 stitch length. And then up the side. And so now that is a slip pocket here, as well as a zipper pocket, which I'm holding backwards, but you get the idea. All right, let's attach our accent panel to here. So again, normal stitch length. Now you want to make sure that you're joining the bottom to the top. That is important. And then we're going to turn this over, fold it, and top stitch along the fabric part, not the vinyl part. And then we're going to grab our back piece, which is the one with our little bit here. So this is the back piece of the bag. I've got it upside down. Hold on. That way. That's what I'm trying to do. Right. So it's going to join along here like this. Put this right sides together. Now you can pin this if you want to. I quite noticeably am not. Because I have stitched everything down really well, so I'm confident that it will stay where I want it to. And then again, we're going to push that under and stitch along the fabric piece. Look at that, the back of the bag. Isn't it cool? All right, so you can put that aside. We won't need that for a while now. That piece is done. Now I'm gonna grab the side pieces because it's the next pile I can see, and then we'll go on to the top. So what I'm gonna do is, again, top stitch with a 2.5 stitch length along the top of the funky angled pieces. And you can even chain stitch these if you want to. Grab the second one, line it up. Don't be afraid to use clips if you feel it's going to move on you. Chop off the first one, and then I'm going to extend my stitching up longer. And I'm going to top stitch 1/8 of an inch along this edge. Grab the other one and do the same thing. There go. So now we should have the two funky ones. So you want to take your lining long side piece and stitch it to the bottom. So again, we want to make sure that the lining, everything is lined up. And then I'm just going to stitch 1/8 of an inch along there. It's just a basting stitch. And then when I'm on this corner, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this edge and line it up with the side piece. Like that. So now that is, oh, I missed a bit. There we go. See, this is why you should clip things. I will definitely be clipping the other side. Alright, so then we're just going to grab some clips and join this side to that side, like that. And the clips are so it doesn't shift like the other side did. I've learnt my lesson. So then we can just stitch down the side. Again, 1/8 of an inch because I don't want to see these stitches later on. The idea is they are invisible within the seam. And I just knocked my clips everywhere. So now you've got this funky pocket that sits out. So that's one. So we're going to do the same to the other side. I'm actually going to clip it because I learnt my lesson. Along the bottom first. So the pattern says along the bottom first and then up the sides. Who am I to go against the pattern? Yep. See, it shifted a little bit even while I'm clipping. Very rude. Alright, so that's one side. And then we'll clip the other side as well, and then we can just baste both of those. Alright, I'll start there. I'm also making sure I backstitch so it doesn't come undone. Because again, very important. Okay, so now our back piece that we finished, I'm going to attach the side pieces to, so that I've got less pieces hanging around. So obviously the bottom goes to the bottom. And then we're going to clip that on. Use as many or as few clips as you feel comfortable. Probably didn't really need to use any, it's a straight line. But just in case, I'm going to use some. Then I'm going to attach the other side. Now because I've used so much vinyl on this bag, I actually won't be putting bag foam because I think it's going to be too much. I'm going to put some bag foam on the bottom panel that it sits on with the bag feet and stuff. But the other bag I made with the vinyl was exceedingly thick and heavy already. So adding extra bag foam I think will make the bag too heavy. And then once you've still got to fill it as well. But if you wanted to add bag foam, add it before you stitch these two together. As you can see, the bag pretty much stands up by itself. So, all right. We are up to the flat piece. So let me, where's the flat piece gone? Oh man. All right, I have to go find the flat piece. I'm gonna hit pause, I'll be right back. So I went looking for the pieces for my flap, which by the way were on the floor. And I realized I forgot to add in something on our beautiful bag. So I forgot to add in the strap connectors down the bottom. So I'm just going to have to unpick this section here. Cause whoops. So just the last little section. And then add them in. The reason I am putting this in the video is because it's all a learning curve. Everybody forgets stuff. Alright, so I'm just going to add that in, like so, and then stitch it back up. I'm going to go a little bit past where I undid, and then just back stitch to lock in the old stitches. Okay, that's better. And so now I've got that in there. So I'm going to do the same to the other side. I thought I was doing so well remembering them to begin with, but apparently not. That's okay. Just undo it. So I don't use a quick unpick because I tend to stab holes in the fabric and it's not worth it. So I actually just use my snips as a quick unpick. Alright, and so then you just want to match it to the other side, like so. Make sure it's up high enough. Alright. There we go. Crisis averted, they are now in. So now while I'm on this piece, I may as well stick the other ones on. So, you know, remember the fancy ones that we folded? What I'm going to do is I'm going to put a piece of double-sided tape along the back to help put them in place. And then I'm going to rub a ruler and mark on the vinyl where they're going to go. So because I'm using black vinyl, I'm going to use my Chaco pen, or I don't really know how it's pronounced. I just know that they're awesome. Alright, I flip the ruler over so I can see what I'm doing. And then there. And then there. So I'm just marking where I need it to be. So I'm remembering that I've got some of my seam allowance gone from that side. Because that is important. That's where I want to put that. And then do the same on the other end. And that's the center of that side. Now you can put these on at the start, which probably would have been the smarter option, but here we are. And now my double-sided tape doesn't want to come off the back. It doesn't want to stick to the fabric, actually, is what it wants. Killing me. There we go. Alright. Stick it down. Now I'm going to start at the top and then go down and around. Let's not drop those pieces. I just spent 5 minutes trying to find them. Alright, so stitch, back stitch, down, pivot, down, pivot, Now, instead of pushing the bag through the hole, I'm just going to pivot all the way the other way. Like that. Just as easy. Probably easier, actually. I measured across, but I didn't measure down on this particular side, so I need to do that. There is actually where I want. But luckily for me, this is chalk and just wipes off. Okay, other side. Now, if you're using a really soft vinyl, or if you're doing fabric instead of vinyl, because that's actually what the pattern comes with, is where all this is fabric, I highly recommend you put the bag foam, but this is already quite stiff, so I don't feel like I need it. My double-sided tape is not my friend today, hey. I'm currently just digging my, no, okay. Fine then. Line that up. So I'm just ignoring the double-sided tape. It doesn't want to come off, that's its own issue. Needle in the down position. Pivot. Needle in the down position, pivot. Gonna make sure there's no side edgy bits showing. And back stitch. Okay. Now that's that piece done, and we're ready to go on to the last bit of the front. So, I've bought my pattern piece because I need to put on my magnets. So I've got a front flap, the back piece, and the little pocket piece. So on the flap, I'm going to mark the magnets, which are there and there. And then grab a gasket, and put a gasket over that, and draw it on both of them. You can use the same gasket because they're all the same size. There was a while there where I was actually getting them stamped out of like soda cans. That was interesting. Okay, and then I've also, where did I put them? I cut just some extra little scraps of vinyl to help reinforce my fabric. So you could also use like some thick interfacing. But because I don't interface my vinyl, I want it to be extra thick. Okay, I don't know where. It's not my day. I keep losing pieces. I literally just cut them off camera so that I would have them to show you. Whatever, we'll just cut some more. So it's not any specific size, it's just a little piece of vinyl. So I'm just going to attach that on the back to be reinforcements, basically. So what I'll do is I'll mark the cut lines on the vinyl separately, like so. And then I'm going to use my knife to cut all the pieces individually and then eventually just stab them all together with the magnet piece. So be very careful you don't get your fingers while doing this. 1, 2. Now, because this is fabric, even though I don't think it will, I'm still going to put fray stopper glue because I'm a paranoid individual and I do not want this breaking. Just dot and dot. And drop that too. It's my dropping day, it would appear. Okay, so then we're going to stab it through the vinyl, through the fabric, then flip it over, stick on your vinyl reinforcements. Oop. Come on. Like that. and then put the gasket on. So that's just a little bit of extra because I don't want it to break. Now you can also come along and cut off any excess that's there. Just make sure that you don't cut your actual fabric piece, because that would suck and you'd have to cut a new one. So through the waterproof canvas, put on the vinyl piece or a piece of like super stiff interfacing, whatever suits you. And then I'm just going to chop off some of that excess. There we go. So now our magnets are beautifully reinforced. I feel safe and confident that they're not going to fall out of that. Pop that aside. So now we're going to grab our pocket piece and our outer flat piece. And I'm going to rule the measurements of the flat piece. Oop. So you can rule it on either. I'm obviously doing it on my vinyl. Whatever floats your boat, really. Okay. And then we're going to put the right sides together of this, like so. Center it up, and then needle in the corner, down and pivot. And then up and back stitch. Then we're going to grab those scissors I just moved out of the way, and we're going to cut on the diagonal into the corner so that you've got these like half triangles, or the different, they are right angle triangles technically, but you know what I mean. So then we're going to fold this up and over and then pinch that down, and then this corner we're just going to bring all the way out and use some clips to help kind of crease that line. So I'm just rolling it in and out in my fingers until I get it right on the seam. And then I'm just gonna stick some clips on it. Like so. And I'm gonna pull out this other side as well. Pops up nicely. And then somewhere here I have another zip. Shock horror surprise, it fell on the floor. So I always have my zips going from left to right. So this whole bag, that's how the zips will look. You can do it right to left. That's what I prefer. So now I'm going to take my zip and just lay this over the top of it, making sure that I'm going to catch it in the seams, and then I'm going to top stitch it down. I'm going to take the clips off because they've pinched it enough to hold its shape. That's all they were ever doing. And then I'm going to start here and stitch down. And I've gone for a decorative stitch length just because it's vinyl and I want it to look really nice. So I'm going to get close to that zipper pull, and then I'm going to open up the zip like so. And then pivot and come up and then back stitch, just a couple of stitches. So now I've got my zip in. So now what I want to do is I want to pull the back pocket, flip it up on itself, and then I'm just going to tack that in place at the top so that it doesn't shift on me later while I'm trying to sew. Now I don't have to move the zipper pull out of the way because I've got enough gap. Like so. And then I'm just going to fold back the top flap like this and then stitch down the side to seal it. So you won't have to do the bottom seam because we folded it up on itself. I possibly could have left myself a little bit more room there, but that's okay. Alright, trim off all your tails so that they're not in the way. So now you've got your beautiful flap with your pocket. Now grab your magnetic part and I'm actually going to clip this because I don't trust that it won't move and I want it to look beautiful. Clip around slowly but surely. Make sure that everything's lined up as you're clipping. Don't just clip without purpose. Alright. So now I'm just going to stitch around that curve, leaving the top. Now I'm going to grab my zigzag scissors or my pinking shears, whatever you prefer to call them, and just curve off and chop off some of the excess at the curvy parts. Like so. And then we should be able to turn it the right way out and it looks fantastic. So I'm just going to stick my finger into that kind of corner. How cool is that? Now I'm just going to make sure that my curves come out really nicely. Like that. And then I'm going to top stitch that flap. So I'm on 3 3/4 of a stitch length on my machine. You can also feel that you're not going to hit the magnet, but if you are worried, make sure you check. And back stitch. Wicked. So now if you want to, you can also top stitch this piece to this piece here so that it's going to sit flat and not shift while you stitch it into the seam. Like that. So now this piece can't move. And there's just one solid piece again. We're going to go back to our slip pocket piece. And you can actually line it up by sticking the magnets on it. Weirdly enough, that will line it up for you. To center it, I'm going to clip it because we've still got another piece to add to this. I'm actually going to unclip it for the purposes of this, I think. And then I'm going to grab my, not that piece, the fabric piece. And we're going to stitch that on. So I'm just going to add that into the clips. Like so. And top stitch along there. I'm also going to zip this out of the way. And zip it back up. Come on, there we go. Love it. So then you just make sure that you've caught the underneath part, but it's all looking lovely there. So now I'm just going to grab my top piece and attach it as well, and then I'll go and top stitch everything down flat. You could do it one at a time, but this is just stopping me having to go back and forth so many times with my stitch length. out of the way, go up to 3 3/4. And then I'm just going to top stitch the top one down and the bottom one up. So everything will be facing this accent panel. That's one. And then what I did there is I just finger creased it. Oh, and then that's our next piece done. Doesn't that look fun? Then I'm going to take our other pieces that we've got going on and I'm going to add this to the sides. Then we're going to make our inside. So the outside is obviously the hardest part because there's so many pieces. The inside is like 6, 7. It's got one zippered pocket. Alright. Joining stitch length. Making sure that we back stitch at both ends, and then we're just going to join this last side so that we're going to have a closed bag with no bottom yet, but we're getting to that, I promise. Good. More clips. Clips are your friend. Okay, you can go bottom to top or top to bottom, whatever suits you. Back stitch. And I just ran out of bobbin thread again. Alright, I'm going to hit pause while I wind another one. Alright, so here is my bag bottom. I have put foam and I've put some extra firm stabilizer. I haven't ironed it on there, but it'll stay, it'll be fine. Because I am also about to put bag feet, which will help hold everything down. So I've got my 4 bag feet here. I've actually ordered some new styles of bag feet that are like Chicago screw-ins. So we're going to see how they go when they get here. But in the meantime, grab my puppy. What are you doing? My puppy wants to come and say hello, don't you? He's feeling a bit unloved today because I've been doing this bag. So I'm just going to measure where I want my bag feet. You'll also notice that I made my foam the same size as the stabilizer so that my seams aren't crazy thick. That was a conscious decision to do. I'm actually pretty sure the pattern has the points of where to put your bag feet, but I've just measured it anyway. Hello, puppy. Hello. This is Cowboy. Alright, so I'm just going to stab through all the layers with my craft knife. I'm not putting it all the way through, like just stabbing it all the way down, because that'll create too big of a hole. And we don't want that. So I'm probably only putting the blade about halfway through, because it gets bigger, it'll make a bigger hole, and I don't want it too big. Now I won't be putting any of the fray stopper glue on this, because it's vinyl, so it doesn't need it. Just poke these through the holes that you've made. Because I've used the craft, you can also use a hole punch if you prefer. Because these make like the smallest, almost invisible holes. And then I'm just going to split them open. Like so. And then I'm also going to put some some duct tape on the top of them, just to make sure that they're really, really secure. There you go, Poppy. So across like that, and then just really push it down. Another piece on the other side. And that's just going to help prevent any falling out, because I have had one pop out of my bag after about a year. It wasn't fun. I got it back in, obviously, but there you go. Now we've got them, so they've all secure. The bag feet also help hold the bag foam on, so if you haven't been able to get it to fuse super well, that's just like an added holding bonus. Alright, let's do the inside of the bag, because I don't put my bag bottoms on yet. I don't know why, I just don't. So this is my inner pocket. So again, I'm just going to put the right sides together. Oh, okay. So did you see how that just bunched up? That is my bobbin having a meltdown, apparently. I'm not sure why everything looks to be in order, but when that happens, it's usually my bobbin has got like a loop or something. So I'm just going to stitch that again. Maybe. Nope, it's doing it again. What the hell? Okay, so I'm just going to take the bobbin out. Clearly something's wrong somewhere. Take it out. Rethread it. Should have done that the first time, but whatever. Puppy, I love you, but you can't keep leaning there. You're in my way. This is not a problem I've ever had before. My bobbin doesn't want to go in. I have a sneaking suspicion this is going to misbehave some more. You know what? Let's start from the other end. I can hear it. Alright, hold on. Okay, I'm not sure what I did. I just rethreaded it again and it's working fine now. So I've just done that top stitch off camera to try and make it work. So now I'm going to grab my ruler and a pen. And on the back, I'm just going to go 1/2 inch down from that seam and 3/4 of an inch in on the side. Like so, and then 3/8 of an inch down. And that is my rectangle. So I'm just going to grab one of my side pieces and lift that up with the join side up. And they tell you how far to put it down, but I tend to just eyeball it. It's entirely up to you how high or low you want it. See, the machine's working fine now. I'm not sure what its problem was. Alright, making sure we back stitch in the corners. And then grab some scissors. They are way too small for this job. And then just snip through the center down towards the end, about 1/2 inch from the end, and then triangle out the corners like we have for all the other pockets. And then I'm just going to fold that down and crease it. And then I'm going to put a zipper pull on my zipper. Like so. And then I'm just going to stick all of my fabric over the zip and stitch it down, making sure that I'm going to catch it in the seam allowance at the side. Zip it up and then zip it down. And then zip it up. So this is what we're going to turn our bag through, which is a nice large space. Alright, chop off the tails, and then I'm just going to fold the pocket part down and stitch the sides closed, leaving the bottom open. Chop off those parts. Alright. I'm going to make sure that that is open so that I can get into it later. And then I'm going to stitch the sides to like the back. This is the back for me. Now, if you were going to put foam in your bag, these pieces are actually the templates that you'd use. All right. So the last piece on. And then we're up to the zip. Excellent. So I'm using continuous zip because I always do. So I need to cut a 20-inch piece. I also need to melt that end because it's looking a bit gnarly. Grab my zipper scissors. These were actually really good scissors, but I dropped them one too many times and they got really loose, which is why they got downgraded to zipper scissors. Anyway, that's a fun little fact. So we're just going to split part of the zip, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to bend this down to make it a right angle and stitch it in place. So I want to do this to both the sides. And it can be a bit tricky, so don't be disheartened. I'm just tacking it, so you don't need a lot of stitches. And then I'm going to do the same to the other side, preferably so that they're even. In a perfect world, that's what we're aiming for. That there is even. Okay. So now we can separate the zip. We only didn't separate it so that we tried to have it as evenly as possible before. And I don't do it the way the pattern does. I actually stick it to the lining and not the outside. I don't know why. Partially because I don't like things to tell me what to do, I guess. So then I need to mark. So I folded the side piece in half and I need to mark the 2-inch point on both sides and at both ends. So you should have 4 little marks. That's what we're aiming for. So there, there. So I've just got, I don't know if you can see them, but there's just little marks. This is an erasable pen anyway. And then what I want to do is my back panel, I want to make sure my zip's going to go in the same direction. So that's the side I'm going to start on with the zip, not that piece, the other piece. So I'm going to have the zip facing up, so the teeth towards me as I'm sewing. And I'm going to start at the first little mark that I did. And then I'm going to stitch just along the edge. So I'm pretty much just basting this in place. So then I'm going to get to the first mark that I come to, and I'm going to back stitch, and I'm going to stop there. So that is the first half of the zipper on. So it'll look like this. You've just got like this weird tail. Don't worry about that, it's meant to be there. Then I'm going to grab the other piece and do right sides up. So I'm going to start at the other mark that I made, but because I want to sew it with the zip right sides up, I'm actually going to clip this one in place because I want to start from the other end. And obviously I don't start from the end of the zip, so that's not how that's going to work. So I'm just going to come along and clip it every inch or so. 2 inches or whatever I feel comfortable. Because I don't want it to shift while I'm stitching it, and I want it to be beautiful and even. So this last little bit I can just start at my mark again. So I'm just going to stick that under here, stitch and back stitch to lock it in. And again, this is just the basting, so you don't want to be right up against the zipper teeth because we actually don't want to see this line later on. Alright, so that is the zipper basically installed. Now what you want to come and do is I come and grab this and I fold the zip under and put a clip there. So it goes under itself, and I put a clip. So that way it's going to be down out of the way as we stitch the rest of the bag together. But the clip's just going to hold it there so we don't have to think about it again. So now we take our outer bag. We're going to turn this one in the right way. Again, the pattern does this opposite, but I find that this one's easier to turn, so I may as well use that one. Now I want this pocket on the back piece, so I'm going to put it in touching the back piece. So just down and in like this. And then I'm going to match up all of those side seams and clip the side seams together. You know what? I might move the camera for this. Okay, that's better. You can see better now. So what I'm going to do, so these vinyl ones, I'm opening the seam so it's flat, and then I'm matching it with the other seam on the other side and putting a clip there. And then you can just come along in between those two clips and clip it all so it won't shift. And then I'll go to the next point. So I'm going to open that up. I'm going to get this seam here and match it and clip it. And then clip in between. So that way you can see, here's the end of the, no you can't see. Here's the end of the teeth, but they're going to be in the seam. It's actually a very clever way to do a zip. I was very impressed when I read that. I was like, oh, I like it. So then I'm going to come and match up this last seam. Again, open out the vinyl to make it flatter and then join it and put a clip on it. and then clip in between. I probably don't need this many clips, but I would hate for it to shift and then I'd have to go back and do it, because once you perforate vinyl, you can't get rid of the holes. So it's worth spending the extra however many minutes it took me. And so now we're up to, so these clips are holding the zips. You just want to pinch it to make sure that you don't move the zip as you clip the vinyl in with it, because that's pretty important. So now you've got this. So what we're going to do is just pick a spot, any spot, doesn't matter. We're going around a complete circle. Do a couple of stitches, back stitch, and then basically you're running your zipper, your foot up against the zipper. Well, I am anyway. So it's making sure that I'm hiding all that other stitching I did. I'm also, because I'm against the zip, I'm not stitching over it, which is also very important. It just occurred to me I forgot to move the camera back, so sorry about that. Okay, so now technically we've got this really long sausage. Alright, I'm going to move the camera and then we're going to put in the bottoms and then turn the bag and finish it up. So I've got my two bottoms. I am going to start by finding the center of all of them and then clipping in with knot clippers so that I don't cut myself. You can actually see me do it in one of my videos because I'm an idiot. Alright, so fold it in half. Possibly should have done this before I put all of the bag foam and interfacing and everything on it, but too late now. Okay, so I got the center of both of those. Now I need to come and find the center of the bag parts. So I'm going to come here, pinch out, snip, join these seams, pinch out, and snip. Now I'm not snipping too deeply with that little clip because I don't want to ruin it. I don't want the clip to be in the seam allowance. So you'd be surprised at how big your little snip will look. So try and do them as small as you can. And then out, pinch, snip. Oh, that was a big one. Alright, so it doesn't matter which one you start with. I'm going to start with the one on top, so I'm going to start with my lining. So I'm going to line up the two clip points in the center and then add some clips on there, some wonder clips. Gotta say the word clip a lot, don't I? Right. Put that over there. So now I'm just going to stitch along that edge there. Using my seam allowance, obviously. Okay, one side. Then I'm going to do the same on the other side. So I'm going to match up that center. And then I'm going to come out to the side, clip, and then I'm going to hold the other one with my hand. You can definitely put more clips in if you're not confident in 3 clips. Definitely put more. Right. Take my clipping scissors and I'm just going to put little clips up to those stitches so that everything's going to bend nicer while I do the short edges. Then I can just grab that, pinch, and it lines up beautifully. So I don't even need clips for that one because it's so short. I will, however, be doing clips on the outer bottom because it's thicker and more stubborn. Making sure I backstitch at both ends. and then come and do the other one. So again, I'm sticking my fingers in and just kind of pulling tight or taut. And then stitching from there across to there. So we're going to just do that same process again with our thicker base. But I will be using a lot more clips than 3 for this because the foam is going to kind of fight me and won't manipulate as easy as the waterproof canvas does. See, it's already starting to fight me now. It's just the thickness of it, but that's why we use the Wonder Clips. Like that. So I always put the base piece up so I can see what's going on. No, I just knocked something on the floor. Oh well. Alright, and so then the other one, so I'm just going to pull the base out, line up those centers again, clip along. Doo, doo, doo. Flip it. Back stitch at the start. Make sure that nothing's going to get caught. Pull that out. Clip off any tails that you have lying around. And then again, I'm going to grab some scissors and I'm just going to clip and clip. It's just going to allow it a little bit more movement, which is going to help me turn it a lot. In the same sense that we did that top piece, the flap with the zip. Alright. So then that should just pinch and clip beautifully. I mean, it might not, but hopefully for you it will. And then again, I'm just going to stick my fingers in and pull out and then pinch it with my other fingers. And then pinch it with a bunch of Wonder Clips. And another one there for good measure. Alright, so then just squish that down. Up and under. Stitch forward, stitch back. Make sure nothing's in the way. And off we go. And then back stitch at the other end. I know it looks like a hot mess, but I promise it's working wonderfully. Okay. So my stitching stops there. Ooh. Back stitch slowly when it's this thick. All right. Awesome sauce. So now the birthing. This is always fun. I roll up my sleeves for these things. So hopefully you remembered to leave your lining zipper pocket open. Then I'm going to come to a corner, push that in to create like a poppet. Basically, I do that so that I've got like a good grip, and then I can start folding the bag over onto itself. I find that this is the easiest way to birth a bag. And so far I haven't put any pressure and I'm not struggling yet. You just want to slowly fold it, and then there is that corner that I was grabbing. Now I should just be able to peel that lining pocket down around the bag. And then grab the lining in one hand and grab this part of the bag and just gently tug, and and it just comes straight through. Ta-da! Now I'm going to stick my hand back in the bag and push down into the corners. And I'm actually going to get my flute cleaner. I know it's a weird thing to have for a sewing room, but it works. And I can just push at my corners to get them nice and, I wouldn't say pointy, but crisp. Crisp is probably a better word. So again, it's just kind of pushing into the corners. It just saves your fingers because you're shoving something else that isn't your finger, because sometimes it hurts to use your fingers all the time. Alright. So far, I'm actually quite happy. As you can see, with all the vinyl in this bag, without me holding it, because my hands are over here, it stands up by itself. See? No hands. I don't know why I feel the need to prove that to you, but anyway. But it's all the vinyl. So I would definitely recommend, if you're not going to use the vinyl, that you use the bag foam in the bag. But I think the bag foam with the vinyl would just make it insanely thick and also really hard to turn out. That was nice and easy. Okay, I'm not actually going to close this yet because I'm going to change it to silver to do it. So we're just going to leave that one. And I'm going to come and do this top stitching along here. Now, if you want to, you can go along and pin it and clip it, or wonder clip it. Not pin it, don't put pins in vinyl. Go along and clip it. I don't want to do that though. So what I'm going to do, not sure why I turned that off. I thought birthing might be a little bit more difficult. I'm going to stitch it from the right sides up. So I'm just going to squish the bag like this. And I'm going to start, weirdly enough, at the gap. And I'm going to use a full 1/4 inch, which is the width of my foot. And I'm doing this so that I don't run off the edge, and it's going to hold everything neatly down. So I don't need to backstitch at the start of this one because it's a complete circle. I can just run over the stitches when I get back to the other end. But I am just going to do it in small sections, and I'm just pushing that seam, or not the seam, the lining, or the seam of the lining, down and flat, stitching, stopping with the needle down, and then readjusting the bag, and then coming back and doing it again. So I'm kind of trying to finger crease it enough until I stitch over it. And just work my way around. Now I've deliberately not put the zip on yet, because I find it easier to do it basically at the end. Well, second to the end, because I want to change thread to stitch the pocket shut. So again, push that under, squish it down, stitch along at 1/4 of an inch. And this will just help prevent the lining getting stuck in your zipper. And as you can see, I'm nearly back to the start. So then when I get to the, I'm nearly back to the start. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab those tails and hold them over here out of the way. And I'm just going to do a couple of stitches through the original holes, back stitch, and be done. So I've got very minimal layers of stitching there. And I'm just going to melt the ends down, making sure that I'm not melting the vinyl, or in this case, the lining on this side. Ah, it's looking fabulous. Sorry, I get really excited towards the end of the bag. Whatever. All right, final zipper. So again, actually, I'll move this one so you can see it. Yeah, you guys can see there. Excellent. All right. Zip in. And grab the bag. And I want to try and feed them in evenly. To start off with. So like that. So when you zip it up, you want to make sure that at this end, they're both even, which mine are. But if they're not, you can just unzip it again and feed the side that was too far forward, you feed more of that in before you put your zipper on, both of them. And so what that does is makes it even in the end. So in the pattern, they use one of those like fancy metal zipper ends. I don't have those. So I have a 2.5 by 1.25 inch piece of vinyl and some double-sided tape. So I'm just going to put that roughly down the center. Now it doesn't have to be perfectly because we're not, this is just like a tacking piece of sticky tape. And so then I'm going to fold it in half most of the way in my hand so it's nice and even. And then I'm just going to slot the zip into it like that. So now I can let go and it's stuck down. So now all I have to do is top stitch it. Just start wherever you like. Stitch down, pivot, again, down, pivot. So I'm going to go the other way like this. Stitch down, pivot, and at the end like so. So now my zipper can't come off the end. From the front, the zips all go the same way, but my back pocket, because it's on the back, obviously it faces the opposite way, but you still open all of your zippers from left to right. So I felt that's how I would always do them. Okay, so then I'm just going to change out my bobbin to silver and my top stitch, which I've actually got set up next to me because I anticipated this. So chop this one off, grab the other one and put it on. So I don't rethread my machine each time because I'm lazy. Well, it's not even that I'm lazy. I like to be time efficient, and that was quicker than rethreading everything. The only thing I don't pull the knot through is the needle because you're likely to snap it. Okay, down, up, grab my bobbin thread there. Open up the bag. And so I'm just going to fold in those raw edges like so. Pinch it. And I'm going to come a little bit forward. I'm going to back stitch first. And then just stitch as close to that edge as I can. And then I did a few, like 2 little back stitches at the other end as well. So there's that. And I also did the other strap while I was off screen so that I could do this as well. So then your straps can just clip onto either the bottom here or at the side. So you can clip it up like this as a backpack. You just want to make sure that you're doing it both the same way. And mine are very uneven. So we just clip them both onto this part here and then onto the bottom like that. And now it's a backpack. I hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial. I know it's a long one. Oh, okay. So there's something to think about. When you're turning into a backpack, make sure your handle's up. Because mine just wasn't. Alright, there you go guys. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. And I will see you probably next week for another one. Alright, bye guys.